Hey traders, Bevel Trading here. Just want to get this video out as I have a short signal on my trading system for Bitcoin. Now today is I'm currently in New Zealand, so it's the 27th of December. I know certainly for my family back in the UK it's still Boxing Day, and for a lot of you around the world, so for those who've celebrated Christmas, hope you've had a great time. Just before I give you, I'll get straight onto the trade parameters, but just before I give you that, just want to make the usual disclaimer. This is not financial advice, purely for education or entertainment. Whatever you choose to do with any information I give here is purely at your own risk. So the trade signal is to short Bitcoin at the open of today's candle. Now I'm using multi-charts here. It's populated with Binance data. I don't particularly use Binance for trading or investing, but I have a small account there as it just enables the data to flow into this charting package. Your charting package or your daily candle may have a slightly different opening price, but it should be in this sort of ballpark figure. So today's open for Bitcoin was 50,399.67, and the signal was to short at today's open. The stop is the high of yesterday, so that price 51,156.23. It doesn't have to be exactly that price depending on your chart package, it's just in that sort of ballpark figure. But we can see here, the risk per Bitcoin is about $750. Now the initial sort of target zone is around about 43,600, this blue box down here. So as we can see from the risk to the potential target, the reward, it's certainly a It's certainly a trade worth taking. Now, those of you who know me, obviously my background is in spot FX trading and then futures trading on short time frames. Bevel Trading was set up to trade a small account, to show what you can do with a small account just trading one contract. The metrics work exactly the same whether you're trading one contract, 5 contracts, 10 contracts. There's no scaling out, so it's the actual expectancy and all the other trade metrics are exactly the same irrespective of the size you're trading. Now for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I don't really trade the short time frames. I don't really day trade. I have one particular method for Bitcoin only that I have up if I'm sitting at the computer, but I don't come and sit at the computer specifically to day trade. Unlike futures, where I know if I'm trading the US stock market, hours of 9:30, or for oil I start at 9 o'clock, but 9 o'clock till 11:30 it's a 2.5 hour trading window, and then you can be finished for the day. Trading cryptocurrencies, which as we know are open 24/7, there isn't a specific time of day where I would think, I'm going to sit down and day trade. So that's what I've done. I've taken the exact same method I use on short-term futures charts, futures trading, and transposed that into trading the exact same method on cryptocurrency daily charts. Now, the main cryptocurrencies that I trade on this method are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Ripple, Litecoin, and Binance Coin. I must stress this is purely for trading. These are not investments. I have no investment position in something like Litecoin or Ripple or Binance Coin. I'm just purely using these as a trading vehicle, so I can trade long or short on these currencies. Now for Bitcoin, we've had on the 13 trades this year, 12, this is the 13th trade. We've had 12 previous trades, and there's 11 winners and 1 loser, and this is the 13th trade. With it being a relatively tight stop, there's a fair possibility that we'll get stopped out. That's fine. What I think may happen is we've had this sort of rally in a downtrend. Now what I like to do is, we hear people saying, I would buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. But if you'd been buying the dip, or what you thought was a dip, all the way down here just because the price was lower than it was the day before, you're going to get wrecked. Now, buying the dip in an uptrend is fine. Here, we've had an uptrend, we buy the dip, we make this, this trade here. Okay, we got out 67,905 was our exit up here, which was not too bad. People say, well, why didn't you buy down here? Well, at this time, I didn't know the dip was over. This this downtrend could have continued, just like this is a short-term downtrend in what I believe is an overall bullish uptrend for Bitcoin. I'm still invested in Bitcoin from an investment position, but in terms of trading, I'm quite happy to trade both the long and the short side. So that's the trade parameters. What I think may happen, we may come down and test this wick area, possibly below it, into this sort of just around about the 40,000 level, just above 40,000, and that's fine. If we come down wick below this wick and we get a move, ideally a quick move back up and start closing back up in this range here, then what I think we could possibly be taking out the all-time highs in the sort of first quarter of next year. Where we peak, I don't know. I don't predict. That I leave that for the gurus on YouTube. You can post their emergency briefings. I'll just follow price action and follow my plan. So that's in terms of Bitcoin. That's that's basically what I've set up to do as of this moment. Investment positions, I'm still long of Bitcoin. I still have Ethereum. I have a love-hate relationship with Ethereum, to be honest. I understand it has its use cases for DeFi and NFTs, and it's certainly worth it for me to have some investment position in it. I don't particularly like it, and as I say, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. Sometimes I'd like to ditch it all, but I think it's important that to have some sort of exposure to it. In terms of the other cryptocurrencies that I hold, Bitcoin and Ethereum by far my biggest positions. I've trimmed down a lot of what I used to own, and I'm sort of now the gaming area I think is great. So I've got a few positions in some gaming cryptos, but they're relatively speaking, they're small positions. That's a lot. It's a lot riskier on some of those small coins, but there again, the potential for larger rewards. You might you're looking for much bigger returns on those than I would necessarily get in Bitcoin. However, Bitcoin is a lot safer. So so it's a trade-off. So it's important when building a portfolio that you take those things into consideration. So that's what I'm doing from a trading perspective. Obviously, from a Bearable Capital investment perspective, I have different asset buckets that I may have. May move funds between at any one time. They're longer term investments. Obviously, stocks. There's things like stocks, a crypto portfolio, an NFT portfolio, a cash portfolio, a property. Whatever you're investing in, they're all different asset classes. So for NFTs, I'll just briefly mention that as. I've got involved in NFTs, and the learning curve for NFTs is like crypto on steroids. 2 weeks in NFTs is like 6 months in crypto. It's extremely volatile. You're buying maybe an NFT in Ethereum, so you're exposed to the dollar risk of change in Ethereum, but also more than that, the actual project itself. If the project dies suddenly, what you'll find is unlike crypto where you can just sell at the market, or you can get out of a position, in NFTs there's no sell market button. You have to wait for somebody to be proactive and come and take your item off you. Now, sure, you can keep lowering the floor in the hope that somebody takes it, but that doesn't always work. And as we've seen, I'll just bring up a list of NFTs I like or have. I will say, Currently I don't own all of these. At times I might be in and out, or I might own more than one, but these are just projects that I'm currently following and I do like. And as we can see, this is not, I haven't updated this morning, today, but even things like the Bored Ape floor is probably is higher than it is on here, and the Mutant Apes I think are up at 9.5 or something like that. The Kennel Club's up at 390. The Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, and the Kennel Club, sort of the ape derivatives, I love these projects. Bored Apes, obviously Punks is considered the sort of the top blue chip, I think, but Bored Apes is certainly in the short space of time of the year that it's certainly become a blue chip in its own right, and the derivatives of it are all very promising in my view. Things like Toads, it's quite amazing that a month or so ago was probably a one Ethereum the floor, say 1 Ether below Mutant Apes. Toads were probably 5 and Mutant Apes were say 6, but now the differential between the two has just grown considerably. Other projects on here, Sneaky Vampires, I like this project. Obviously a much cheaper buy-in than something than some of the others. The artist behind Sneaky Vampires is one of the artists who was involved in Bored Apes. They seem to have a great community, building a game. So I like them. I would say, I've had some good results on NFTs, and I've had some absolute rubbish. You have to be, as I say, it's an extremely new and risky sort of asset class, and I do consider it a developing asset class. But you have to, not only is there the risk that the project just dies, there's also fraud, there's rug pulls, there's theft of NFTs. So be vigilant, be careful, and be aware of the risks. So aside from these, what I just another sort of a new one. It's not listed on here, and it's only sort of recently come out, so it's only very small. I only tend to put my things on here that are sort of over around about half an ETH. I do own other NFTs that basically you sort of write them off, but a new one that has sort of come out fairly recently is it's one called Legends, or House of Legends, and they're only around about 0.1, so I think that's at the mint price. So they're roughly around about the mint price at the moment, and that's one that potentially in the future, it's cheap, or relatively cheap now. Sorry, cheap is the wrong word. It's a lower cost base than some of these other ones. Okay, somebody coming new into NFTs to drop 55, 60 ETH on a Bored Ape, you have to have a reasonable amount of capital behind you to do that. Aside from these sort of these are what I call the community ones, the gaming ones. I do like art NFTs. I do like this project, Mutant Garden Cedar. I like that one a lot. And again, this one, Infinites AI. The floor on this was up at 5.5, 6 a couple of months ago, and it's just collapsed. But I like the artist behind it. He seems to still be involved in the community and bringing out new projects, which hopefully the original owners of this may get some sort of free drops, that type of thing. So I like that project as well. These are all it's not all of the projects on Art Blocks Curated, it's just some of the ones that I either have or like, and I think some of these have been beaten down so much. They're, say, from the average, one of the stats I keep on here, and this is not exact, it's just as a guide really as to where some of the highest prices have been paid for these particular NFTs. Now obviously the highest prices I'm not getting into things like rarity and things like that. I don't know which specific ones sold, but it's just like if people were paying a lot of money for these particular NFTs, my sort of view is that at some point, if they recover, people are still looking to to trade them. They're not dead projects. So I think, but they've these. I don't have things like, I don't have Ringers, I don't have Evidenza, but they're the blue chips of the art world, really, on Art Blocks curated. These are just some other projects that I do like, and here we have, this is the number of issues. Like Geometry Runners, I find this quite a fun project. The floor around about 1 ETH at the moment. They seem to have fairly regular sales, so it's not completely, people are still buying and selling these. Some of these other ones, maybe something like Spectrum or Hyperhash, the actual trades are a lot more infrequent. So that's always something to bear in mind as well, because if you're trying to get, and again, this is what I would say, if you're new to NFTs, I would suggest buying the floor. Now, unless unless you see a really rare one at a great discount, that's fine. But if you're paying top dollar for a rare Bored Ape, and suddenly you want to liquidate it, you're probably going to have to sell it at a discount. Rather than if you're investing at the floor and you want to liquidate it, you can list it slightly below the floor, and you'll probably get a quicker sale. That doesn't work in every project, because if the project has suddenly died, you'll just find everyone undercutting, and the floor just dries up basically, or trades just dry up. But it's less risky buying at the floor than say buying one in the middle. So you're not buying the top end, the high end, which yes, if you've got an alien skin or a top hat or a Bored Ape with the merchandise, it's those things have a premium over the floor. So you'll find a buyer. But the one sort of in the middle of the range, you may find it harder to sell in terms of the price that you actually want above the floor, if you know what I mean. So that's sort of what I'm looking at on NFTs. As I say, I've only been involved since January of this year. I do have some other projects, some smaller projects that I like. I like Deep Black, which was which is an art project. I don't have it on here. I've got that as well, and even things like Crypto Dads that is in here. I think their floor's around about 0.2. At one time, their floor was way up above 1, but they seem to have come down quite considerably. But they, I don't really follow them too much in things like Discord and things like that. But they seem to have a decent community behind them, so they may well recover. But these are the the ones. I'm an investor, a trader, I guess. I'm looking for long-term value, long-term moves. It doesn't always. That's why I like this. The ape sort of derivatives, the Bored Apes, the Mutant Apes, and the Kennel Club. I think these three, and I like to play the ratios between them. Toads, I'm not quite sure what's happened there. I don't know if something's gone on. I don't. As I say, I'm not following these in Discord. I just look at opportunities to buy. So this might be a reasonable sort of level for me to have a closer look at Toads again and add to that position. The Vampires, I like that. That's been fairly steady. Cyberkongs, again, another fairly sort of steady one. It's come off a little bit, so I may look to add to that. Doodles, I'm not a huge fan of Doodles per se, but I'm looking for return on investment. So these have moved up over the last sort of week or few weeks. This one, this is Coin Games Dev Squad, and they're sort of building a video game. and they have a great community there. They get the community involved in naming the sort of characters. I've actually, my suggestion for one of them got accepted, so I actually have named one of the characters in there, which is great. And also what they're potentially doing when it comes to their looking for seed round funding, the owners of the NFTs can get in at the same rate as everybody else, up to a certain amount. So that's just another sort of little potential bonus in the future. I mean, those of you, obviously know if you can get in at the seed round level before any public offerings, then that's the best time to get in. So that's just a potential for the dev squad as well. And that the actual price of the NFT has been fairly steady even through this sort of bit of a crash in NFTs over the last month or so. Well, for certain projects, not all projects, but a lot of projects have literally crashed and burned. Their floor has been fairly steady, round about probably a 0.3 average or something like that, and so that's quite a good one as well. Okay, so that's just a little aside on the NFTs that what I'm looking at, what I'm holding, I don't, as I say, I'm not currently holding every one of these. I may be in and out. I may hold more than one, but obviously I also like to just keep a value of the current floor in ETH of all of these as well. As I say, the current floor, rather than where your specific, or whether your my specific NFT lands, because the sort of floor is the worst case scenario. If you happen to have one that's like an ape that's generally going for about 10 ETH above the floor, say like a merchandised ape or something like that, at least you know what your worst case scenario is of any portfolio that you have. But as I say, that's not my 100% portfolio. So that's the NFTs. That was just an aside. In future, I mean, I'm fairly new to NFTs. I'm certainly no expert. I've had some good trades. I've had some absolute rubbish, but it's good fun. I like it, and I think it's going to be here to stay, and there's opportunities there for moving forward for next year. So I think that basically sort of wraps it up. We've got the trade on the short Bitcoin. We'll see how that plays out. It's currently around about the sort of entry level. We did have a dip down during the day, but it's sort of bounced back. So we shall see how that goes moving forward for next year. Obviously, variable trading. Still doing the short-term futures trading. As those of you who follow me know, I'm not prolific on social media or video, so I may try and kickstart that into gear. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, for me, time zones, trading that early morning, it takes its toll at times. I mean, I'm in New Zealand, so it's varies between the New York Open is like sort of a 12 midnight to 3 a.m. depending on daylight savings between the two countries. So it's around about that sort of opening trade window. So, but that's what I do. I enjoy it. I am a trader, and so we'll see how that develops next year. I'm not trading this week unless anything dramatic happens in the markets where I need to do anything drastically, or I see an opportunity that's too good to miss. I wasn't trading last week. It's important. The markets are always going to be there next week. It's important to take time and recharge with family and take your mind away from the screens, whether that's in crypto or futures or NFTs. It's all so easy just to, once you dive into the rabbit hole, you can hard to drag yourself away from the screens, but it is important to do that. So enjoying the rest of the holidays, and we'll see where we end up on this trade. With that, good luck, trade well.